Thanks for joining us on Arirang News. I'm Kim Dami in Seoul. The foreign ministers of South Korea and China met in Beijing, where they recognized the differences in their own country's interests, but also managed to voice a mutual call for cooperation and moving forward together. Both South Korea's export and import prices went up for the fourth straight month in April, due to an increase in global oil prices and the Korean won's decline against the U.S. dollar. The Biden administration is set to impose a fresh round of tariffs on Chinese goods, highly likely including a quadrupling of tariffs on Chinese electric vehicles, a move seen as a strategy ahead of the November presidential election. The foreign ministers of South Korea and China have met in China for the first time in almost 2 years. They decided to continue dialogue using various channels and discussed a range of issues, including the upcoming trilateral summit between Seoul, Washington, and Tokyo. Our Kim Jong-sil leads us this afternoon.
Foreign Minister Cho Tae-yeol met with his Chinese counterpart Wang Yi on Monday in Beijing. His two-day trip to China came at the invitation of Wang, the director of the Office of China's Central Commission for Foreign Affairs. Minister Cho said to open up a new era for Seoul and Beijing, it's important to build a foundation for sustainable development by improving mutual trust. He said the two countries must continue developing a strategic partner relationship based on mutual respect, benefit, and common interest. Director Wang said the two countries established each other as strategic partners in 2008, giving each other more important diplomatic positions. But he pointed out that difficulties and challenges have increased since then and proposed to work together face-to-face to promote a healthy and stable relationship without interference. In the 4-hour meeting, the two sides discussed issues of mutual concern, such as the situation on the Korean peninsula, including the North Korean nuclear threat, as well as the semiconductor supply chains.
You can tell that the two sides tried to create an atmosphere by avoiding provocative words, and it can be read that the two sides were using the opportunity of high-level talks to create new momentum for bilateral relations.
The two also discussed details of the trilateral summit between Seoul, Washington, and Tokyo, scheduled for later this month. They agreed to strengthen communication using various channels. Kim Jong-sil, Arirang News.
U.S. Deputy Secretary of State Kurt Campbell stressed the importance of trilateral cooperation between Seoul, Washington, and Tokyo to confront threats posed by North Korea. In a virtual address at the annual security conference, Asan Plenum 2024 held in Seoul on Tuesday, Campbell highlighted the allies' efforts to coordinate international responses to Pyongyang's ongoing, repeated violations of UN Security Council resolutions. More than 50 scholars, former government officials, and experts from home and abroad are attending the forum to share their opinions on how to maintain peace in Asia, especially amid persistent threats from the North. The Security Forum, hosted by South Korea's Asan Institute for Policy Studies, is held every year to address the most pressing problems facing the world. South Korea's export and import prices surged for the fourth month in a row in April, driven by a strong U.S. dollar and rising international oil prices. Our Shin Se-byuk has the details.
A strong U.S. dollar and rising international oil prices drove up both export and import prices in South Korea for the fourth consecutive month in April. Preliminary data released by the Bank of Korea on Tuesday showed that the country's export price index rose by 4.1% on month. Compared to a year ago, it rose by 6.2%. By category, manufactured goods saw a 4.1% increase from the previous month. Taking a closer look at manufactured goods driving the overall rise, prices for computers and electronic and optical devices saw a significant rise of 7.3%, and chemical products increased by 3.3%. However, prices of agricultural, forestry, and fishery products fell by 2.5% from March. Last month, the average $1 exchange rate was 1,367.831, marking a 2.8% on-month increase and a 3.6% on-year jump. The import price index for April also saw an on-month climb of 3.9%. This increase was due to the rise in international oil prices, with Dubai crude oil prices increasing by almost 6% per barrel compared to the month before. Raw materials saw a significant month-on-month increase of 5.5%. Intermediate goods rose by 3.7% on month, driven by increases in primary metal products, computers, and electronic and optical devices. Both capital goods and consumer goods increased by 1.9% from the previous month. The central bank explained that with export prices rising more sharply than import prices, the country's terms of trade have improved for the 10th consecutive month. Shin Se-byuk, Arirang News.
A fresh round of U.S. tariffs on Chinese goods are reportedly on the way. This includes a possible move to quadruple tariffs on Chinese electric vehicles, which the Treasury Department says may be met with a fierce response from Beijing. Lee Seung-ja has more.
The White House said Monday that U.S. President Joe Biden is set to announce fresh tariffs on Chinese goods. According to White House National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan, the specific details will be announced at the appropriate time and in short order. However, a source familiar with the matter said that Biden is expected to quadruple tariffs on electric vehicles from China from roughly 25% to 100%, while raising other tariffs on key industries including semiconductors, solar, and batteries. The source said the announcement could be made as early as Tuesday, as the Biden administration looks to prevent a wave of cars made in China from hitting the U.S. market. Pundits say the latest decision is a move to bolster his image as being tougher on China than former president and election rival Donald Trump. Sullivan said the president and his administration will continue to address China's unfair practices that harm American workers and businesses. In response to the soon-to-be announced tariffs, U.S. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen said Monday that the U.S. could see a significant response from China. Speaking to Bloomberg Television, Yellen said she hopes that won't be the case as Biden continues to target U.S. concerns, but added there's always a possibility. When asked if Washington wants a trade war with Beijing, Yellen said that the U.S. is working to stabilize its economic relationship and does not wish to disengage from China economically, but emphasized that the playing field should be fair and China engages in unfair practices like massive subsidies. Lee Seung-ja, Arirang News.
With South Korea's online platform giant Naver facing pressure from the Japanese government to sell its shares in Line Yahoo, the company behind Japan's popular messaging app Line, criticism has emerged. Now, the presidential office, for its part, has vowed to take all possible measures for the interests of the Korean firm. Our Moon Hae-ryun reports.
The South Korean government has spoken up to support Naver as it faces foreign pressure to sell its shares in Line Yahoo. Presidential Chief of Staff for Policy Sang Tae-eun briefed reporters on Monday afternoon about the government's current stance and future plans to assist Naver with the issue.
The government's response has so far reflected Naver's position as much as possible and will continue to support Naver with any future developments.
He stated that the government has been in communication with both Naver and the Japanese government and is waiting for the firm to make its stance clear to provide as much support as possible. Last Friday, Naver released an official statement saying that it was currently undergoing discussions with SoftBank to obtain the best result possible for the company, and the possibility of selling its shares was on the table. After a data leak from the messaging app Line last year, the Japanese government directed its operator in March to review its capital relationship with Naver to prevent it from happening again. Line Yahoo is mostly owned by A Holdings, which is a joint venture with equal stakes between South Korea's Naver and Japan's SoftBank, the firm that has been leveraging Tokyo's pressure to reduce Naver's control by slashing the South Korean firm's equity. Seoul has been called on to respond to the situation because Naver lacks communication channels with the Japanese government, whose moves have widely faced criticism as Naver is responsible for most of Line's technology. Before the briefing, the Ministry of Science and ICT stated last Friday that it regrets the pressure placed on Naver by Tokyo and will respond firmly and forcefully to any discriminatory action against South Korean firms. It also pledged support for measures to strengthen information security at the company to address the user information leaks, should the firm wish to continue holding its stake in Line Yahoo. But on Monday, the firm's union spoke out against Naver's possible divestment of its stake in Line Yahoo, adding that the firm needs to protect the technology and know-how of its workers that have gone into building Line. 문혜련, Arirang News.
Kicking off what he has called Season 2 of his policy discussions with citizens, President Yoon vowed to pass a law to protect vulnerable laborers in the country. On Tuesday, President Yoon hosted a policy discussion in Seoul with non-union workers such as those in delivery and scaffolding to discuss how the nation can take better care of the marginalized, self-employed, and freelancers. He said he seeks to bring in a law to provide economic assistance to these types of workers facing illness, injury, or unemployment. He also said the government will speed up its labor reformation to tackle polarization due to labor market segmentation. Yoon's policy discussion resumed following a pause since late March due to the election. President Yoon met with the ruling People Power Party's new leadership on Monday, following the official launch of the party's Emergency Leadership Committee on the same day. The PPP's interim leader Hwang Woo-yeol was at the presidential residence with other party members, including floor leader Chu Kyung-ho. According to presidential spokesperson Kim Soo-kyung, the meeting comes as both the government and the PPP agreed on the importance of the ruling party taking an active role in addressing issues like people's livelihoods. President Yoon is said to have listened closely to the PPP's leadership and expressed his intent to reflect on public sentiment shown in the April general election for the government's policy direction. Hwang pledged to thoroughly prepare for the upcoming party convention and enhance cooperation with the government. Doctors in South Korea have revealed to the public the government's supporting data submitted to the court regarding the need for an increase of 2,000 to the medical school admissions quota, arguing it is insufficient. Meanwhile, as medical students go on a prolonged leave of absence, universities are reviewing online teaching and special regulations to prevent them from failing the semester. An Sung-jin has this report.
With the Seoul High Court set to rule this week on whether the medical school quota has to be enforced, the medical community disclosed to the public on Monday the evidence submitted by the government to the court. The government last week submitted approximately 50 items of documented evidence to support its decision to increase the quota. This included research reports which were used as a basis for the quota number, as well as meeting records from the Medical School Quota Allocation Committee. The medical community is arguing that the meeting to make the decision was too brief, lasting just an hour, and was nothing more than a formal act to confirm the number brought by the government. This was further elaborated during a press conference held on Monday afternoon as the chairman of the Medical Professor Association of Korea, Kim Chang-soo, expressed his shock as there were no more than 3 reports used to back the government's position. The Medical Professor Association of Korea and the Korean Academy of Medical Sciences argue that after evaluating the documented evidence, there is not enough evidence to support the medical school quota expansion to 2,000. However, the government reiterates that the number was finalized after various discussions. The Prime Minister elaborated on this during a Central Disaster and Safety Countermeasure Headquarters meeting on Monday.
Revealing evidence is interfering with a fair trial to pressure the judiciary by swaying the public opinion. The government decided to increase the quota number based on research that there would be a shortage of nearly 10,000 doctors in 2035.
This comes as medical students, professors, and trainee doctors filed an application with the Seoul High Court to suspend the enforcement of the quota expansion. After reviewing the submitted materials, the Seoul High Court will make its decision by the 17th. This decision will be pivotal in the conflict between the medical school and the government. If the application is accepted, it will put the brakes on the increase for next year. An Sung-jin, Arirang News.
The White House has said it does not consider what is taking place in Gaza amid Israel's war against Hamas as a genocide. Israel has pledged to continue the fight until absolute victory is achieved, but the U.S. says what constitutes victory is difficult to define. Yoon reports.
On Monday, U.S. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan said that the Biden administration does not see the killings of Palestinians in Israel's war with Hamas as genocide, saying that the Palestinians were in hell, caught in the middle of the war. Sullivan also emphasized that a military operation in Rafah would be a mistake, putting a huge number of civilians at risk without strategic gain. Accordingly, the U.S. last week paused the supply of 3,500 heavy payload bombs to Israel.
We do not believe what is happening in Gaza is a genocide. We have been firmly on record rejecting that proposition. Military pressure is necessary, but not sufficient to fully defeat Hamas. If Israel's military efforts are not accompanied by a political plan for the future of Gaza and the Palestinian people, the terrorists will keep coming back and Israel will remain under threat.
While U.S. support will continue through advice and weapons, Sullivan said that Israel is a sovereign country that will make its own decisions. Separately, speaking at the NATO Youth Summit in Miami, U.S. Deputy Secretary of State Kurt Campbell said that Israel's current strategy against Hamas may not be able to achieve full victory, but also highlighted that victory in Gaza is difficult to define. He also reiterated previous warnings by U.S. officials that Israel cannot defeat Hamas's ideology. Meanwhile, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has pledged to continue military operations in Gaza until Hamas is defeated, which is what he described as an absolute victory. Ian Jin, Arirang News.
One of the most prestigious film festivals in the world returns to the south of France on Tuesday, the 77th edition of the Cannes Film Festival. A total of 22 films will be screened in competition, with each vying for the prestigious Palme d'Or award, the festival's highest accolade, including two-time winner Francis Ford Coppola's Megalopolis. The prequel to the Oscar-winning Mad Max Fury Road, starring Anya Taylor-Joy, will be screened out of competition. The festival kicks off with a screening of the French comedy The Second Act and runs until May 25th, when the top prize winner will be announced. K-pop's expanding popularity is not a new thing, but it is indeed notable to see how more and more K-pop artists are being invited to major music festivals around the world. Our Kim Bo-kyung tells us who is going where and why it's so significant.
More and more K-pop artists are being invited to global music festivals abroad. Of course, it is not surprising to see major festivals asking K-pop acts to shine at the show, and we are indeed seeing more debuting at large-scale stadiums and festivals. Leading such a trend is 17, the 13-member act that is joining the lineup for this year's Glastonbury Festival in the UK. The 5-day festival is set to take place from June 26th to 30th, and 17 is booked for Glastonbury's Pyramid Stage, a first for a K-pop act in the festival's 50-year history. Lollapalooza Berlin is where K-pop fans can also enjoy a 17 performance as well, as the boy band has been invited to headline the festival slated for early September. 17 is not the only K-pop act that is having a chance to headline major music festivals. Stray Kids too will headline on Lollapalooza, this time in Chicago in August, for the second straight year after performing at Lollapalooza Paris last July, another first for a K-pop artist. For the Chicago version, K-pop girl groups IVE and Vicha are also invited to perform. Japan is not an exception. Summer Sonic in August is set to feature the largest number of K-pop acts in the Japanese music festival's history, with the lineup including IVE, NCT Dream, singer-songwriter duo AKMU, Zero Base One. Adding to that, TWICE and 17 are expected to hold a concert at Nissan Stadium, Japan's largest stadium with 75,000 seats, for the first time since TVXQ's concert there. An expert says such performances at music festivals can upgrade K-pop acts' live performance skills and their brands.
In South Korea, idols do more broadcast activities than concerts most of the time. But by headlining such global music festivals, they can upgrade themselves to become live performance artists on the global stage, adding more value to their own brands.
Kim Bo-kyung, Arirang News.
Let's take a look at the latest news in the world now. In the U.S., Michael Cohen, the former lawyer of Donald Trump, testified in court on Monday that Trump personally signed off on a hush money payment to an adult film actress. Once the former U.S. president's most loyal aide, Cohen told jurors on Monday that Trump told him to just do it, personally instructing Cohen to find the best way to pay the porn star Stormy Daniels $130,000 in return for her silence on an alleged sexual encounter in 2006. Cohen said that he had rang Trump twice to confirm his approval before opening a bank account for the hush money payment. Cohen further testified that Trump reimbursed him by falsely recording it as a legal retainer fee. When Trump's lawyers argued that Cohen acted on his own, he said that everything required Mr. Trump's sign-off, and that Trump warned before his 2016 campaign there would be a lot of women coming forward. Cohen on Monday also admitted to lying under the oath multiple times. Trump has pleaded not guilty to 34 counts of fraud and denies having sex with porn star Stormy Daniels. To Kazakhstan next, where the country's former economy minister, Kwandik Bishimbayev, was sentenced to 24 years in prison on Monday for the torture and murder of his wife. 44-year-old Bishimbayev was found guilty following a 7-week trial, which included key CCTV video evidence. Footage showed him repeatedly kicking and punching his 31-year-old wife, Sultanat Nukenova, before she was dragged by her hair into a room where she later died. Additional videos from Bishimbayev's phone included him humiliating his bruised and bloodied wife. Days after her death, relatives launched an online anti-domestic violence petition to pass Sultanat's law, which quickly garnered over 150,000 signatures and passed parliament in April. Bishimbayev was sentenced to 10 years for bribery in 2018, but served less than 3 years. In tech news, ChatGPT creator OpenAI announced the release of its new AI model called GPT-4o on Monday. GPT-4o, with the O standing for Omni, claims that it is able to reason across audio, visual, and text-based information in real time. It accepts any combination of text, audio, and images as input and can generate a similar combination of output. With an average audio input response time of 320 milliseconds, OpenAI says that it is similar to a human's response time in a conversation. The updated AI model was unveiled at a live stream event on Monday, where it guided watchers through a math equation, provided real-time language translations, and analyzed data on a graph. OpenAI CTO Mira Murati said that GPT-4o is a huge step forward when it comes to the ease of use. In entertainment news, the winners of the 2024 BAFTA Television Awards were announced on Sunday evening local time at London's Royal Festival Hall. The awards, which are given to the best in television, saw Top Boy win Best Drama Series, while The Sixth Commandment and Squid Game The Challenge also won their respective categories. Timothy Spall won the Best Leading Actor for his role in The Sixth Commandment, while Sarah Lancashire of Happy Valley won Best Leading Actress. Jasmine Jobson won Best Supporting Actress for her role in Top Boy, while Matthew McFadden won Best Supporting Actor for his role in Succession. Kim Seong, Arirang News.
Good afternoon. Today looks to be a repeat of yesterday nationwide under bright skies with very high UV rays. Have your sun protection ready, and afternoon highs should go up a couple of degrees in many places. So Seoul gets up to 24 degrees, Daegu, Gyeongju topping out at 28 degrees this afternoon. Air quality will be normal to good all day in most parts of Korea. Then the weather will take a turn tomorrow with rain in the forecast for Buddha's birthday. It will start to rain from northern central regions around lunchtime and should rain all day tomorrow. The East Coast will receive the most rain with up to 60 millimeters, and rain could continue into Thursday in Gangwon-do and Gyeongsang-Buk-do provinces. Meanwhile, the rest of the country could see 5 to 40 millimeters through late tomorrow night. And that band of rain will bring down the highs to the upper teens in the capital tomorrow. Meanwhile, it's a rain-free holiday for Jeju and parts of Jeollado provinces tomorrow. With that in mind, let's take a look at the international weather conditions.
That's all we have at this hour. Arirang News will be back at 2 p.m. Korea time. Thanks for watching.